here, and then we will upload it when the time comes. I see.
Let's see how that works. Is that okay?
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Okay,
All
wonderful.
right. So let me add you to it as well. Okay, good. Let's begin. Today, Nanaya is our audience, but it's fine. We have this recorded and then we'll always share. Oh, I love the background.
Thank
We
you.
can always share it on our YouTube page. So, Dr. Joseph, we're so happy and excited to have you here. Um, a lot of people admire you, honestly. I don't know if you know it, but you are all around. Literally, anytime I tell people that I work with Dr. Joseph, you're like, oh my gosh, she's the best. You're in good. So I'm so excited to have you here and just have a conversation and learn more about you, who you are, your journey. And I know that, your journey is going to be inspiring to me and to many others that are even going to be watching this. So let's just start off. How are you feeling today?
Thank you for asking. I'm feeling great. This meets me just after I finished my morning teaching with a graduate class. My course is called Decolonizing Health and Sport,
Mm.
and it's my favorite class to teach. It's part of the reason that I came to Brock University is a chance to teach at the intersections of health, sport, and racial justice. And so when I finish class, I feel alive. I feel buzzing with energy. We almost always go over time, and I have to cut the conversation short because there's another group of students waiting to use our room.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling really good today.
That's good. Amazing. Good to know. So just in case anyone watches this video and you're like, who is Dr. Janelle Joseph? We've
Hmm.
never heard of her before. What would you say? Okay, if you were to introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, in academic settings, we often start with our titles. So I am a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair in Racial Justice, Health, and Sport, and I'm at Brock University. And I think it is important to start with the title and particularly to use the honorific Dr. Janelle Joseph because I earned that. And there are
Mm,
so few Black women who are Canada Research Chairs, especially at the Tier 1 level, which is for more advanced and senior scholars. And so I want people to know, I want everyone to understand that the work that I do is a national, internationally facing role that represents Canada, and my areas of research are at the intersection of Black studies, sport management, and health studies as well. So that's wearing my academic hat. That's typically how I introduce myself. But what I really want people to know is that I am a person who is committed to developing scholars, to
mm,
developing thinkers, developing leaders, and I really use those terms broadly. I have two young children, and I think of them as leaders. They are consistently telling me what to do, where to go, how to be, and I appreciate that. I'm learning from them at all times. So there's something about myself as a leader and as a person who is nurturing the next generation of leader scholars that is really core to my identity. And I guess one other thing that I want people to know, or how I introduce myself, is about my journey. And I know that we'll get into some questions around that, but I wouldn't want anyone to think that I had it easy or that, national level scholars just got there by luck or by chance. I really want people to understand that there is a marathon. There is a step after step after step, and sometimes a marathon and sometimes a salsa dance, right? There's a pivot and a shift and a
mm,
spin. And
mm.
that's really how leaders get to where they are. And so I don't mind sharing those aspects of my journey as well.
Amazing. So for people that are listening and they might have no idea of what a tier one research chair is, can you just speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our federal government is really committed to investing in researchers. And so
Mm,
Canada Research Chair is a position that comes with funding and time. So rather than emphasizing teaching, I emphasize research. So I get to have research funds to do the kinds of research that I want, time in my schedule to focus on the research. And in my particular case, I was also able to apply for a Canadian Foundation for Innovation, or CFI, lab grant. So I have space. And with those three aspects, time, money, and space, a researcher can really amplify their career. You can do more national facing and internationally facing research. And so a Canada Research Chair is like a regular professor position, but with
Mhm.
additional resources to really invest in the kinds of research that are important.
Did you always know that you were going to be a Canada researcher one day?
Oh, what a good question. You know what? I think in my soul I did, but there were
Mm,
so many roadblocks that I questioned that many, many times.
mm,
In between finishing my PhD, or actually, I would say like finishing the final draft of my dissertation, which was in 2009, and then starting as an assistant professor in 2019,
whew,
I had many tribulations, many job applications, I had many jobs. I wasn't sitting idle that whole time, but I really was thinking, what if being a professor really isn't for me? Because
mm,
it seemed that the door kept being closed in my face at every turn. Every time I thought, no, this job for sure, they built this role for me. They want me. I'm going to apply. And then I wouldn't even get an interview. And so I certainly had some times of doubt where I thought, you know what, maybe I've been mistaken this whole time and I wasn't meant
mm,
to be a researcher. But I did persevere. And so when the job came up at Brock University, they really did want me. They really were positioning this Canada Research Chair as something that was exactly in my area of research. And so applying and being successful, I can say this last time I was thinking, of course they want me. Of course I'm meant to be a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair. But
yeah,
I'll really say that certain knowledge really only came to me in the last few years, and
mm.
I am 47 years old. So it's been a long
47 years young.
47 years young, that's right.
So speaking of age, at what age did you, if you're comfortable sharing, did you start your PhD?
I might need to do some calculations on that, but let's say I started my PhD in my late 20s.
Okay.
Um, and I finished it in relatively quick fashion. It took me 4 years. That is,
Oh,
what
that's
how it is designed, but
hmm
not every student is able to finish in that time frame.
hmm
So I spent my late 20s, early 30s doing my PhD. And then, as I just mentioned, I spent another 10 years from my mid 30s to mid 40s searching for the right job. And then I finally landed first at the University of Toronto as an assistant professor for 5 years, and then came to Brock in 2024.
Wow. So when you started your PhD, were you a mother at that time?
No, I wasn't. So that was part of
Okay.
that 10-year gap.
Right.
I did have two children during that time.
Okay.
But actually, during my PhD research, I was just reflecting on this today.
hmm
Um, I'll just share a little bit about my study, which was a focus on Afro-Caribbean men in the Greater Toronto Area and
Mm,
their involvement in the sport of cricket. And
okay.
so I got involved with this project because I had a friend who was of Antiguan heritage like me. Both of
Mhm.
my parents are from the island of Antigua, but I was born in Toronto. And my friend, who's of a similar generation to me, had a dad who was playing cricket. And my own father had been a cricket player, but had retired. Her dad was continuing to play cricket into his old age. And, after having heart surgery and a lifetime of achievements, he was going with his cricket team to St. Lucia
Mm,
on a trip. And she was sharing this with me, and I thought, isn't that curious? Like, your dad, in my estimation, was an older man, and
mhm,
yet he had these older men friends, and they
mhm,
not only played cricket, but they were on a traveling cricket
mm,
team.
mm.
And they were going to St. Lucia in February, which is not a bad idea. So all of these factors really came together for me to want to hone in on this population as my research site. And I did a multi-sited ethnography traveling to St. Lucia, Barbados, the United
Wow.
Kingdom, and the United States with this team. But I'm sharing that background to say that I didn't know that that was going to be the area of focus
Mm.
for my research. It just kind of emerged out of my relationships.
Wow.
And by the time that I got to do my research, I was in a relationship. I wasn't certain that this person would end up being my partner for life. They did, but I was traveling to St. Lucia as part of my research focus, and it ended up being a trip that my partner could join me on because he's a teacher and it was March break. And so he visited with me as I was doing that very first research trip. And I was just reflecting this morning about how that one example is how I like to operate my life,
Mm.
recognizing that the personal is never really separate from the political or the professional,
Mm.
and that there's always opportunities to grow as a person when we share more, when we don't say, "Oh
Mm.
no, I'm over here and you can't come," or
Mm.
this is mine, not yours.
Right,
I'm really
right.
oriented towards sharing with my students, sharing with my colleagues, sharing with my partner, and ultimately sharing with my children. Just this past summer, I was able to travel to New Zealand, Aotearoa, and bring my child with me for a research trip slash family trip. And so
Mm.
the opportunities that being a professor and being a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair offers to me to be able to travel and hone in on any research question that my curiosity drives is really important to me.
That's amazing. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, for the few people that joined us, we have the amazing Dr. Janelle Joseph. She's the Tier 1 Canada Research Chair. That means she's one of like the top global, not just in Canada, global researchers. And we're so humbled to have her here. And her journey is amazing. I mean, she just shared her story of how she started her PhD in her late 20s, and then there was a 10-year gap. Now, coming to the 10-year gap, because anytime I hear that story, I'm like, from 2009 to 2019, you were actively searching for an assistant professor job and you did not get it. I want you to walk me through or walk us through year by year.
Mhm.
How did you feel? Why didn't you give up? Because 10 years is a lot.
It is a
And
lot. It
and
is a
let's
lot.
start with how did you feel? And I'm
Okay.
sure you saw a lot of your friends and colleagues getting jobs,
hmm
already getting their positions, and here you were, nothing for 10 years.
hmm Yeah, I'm happy to share the details of that because I think it is a true resilience story, and
Mm,
it is a painful story at times, and not everyone knows the details of the journey. They just see
mm,
the splashy end, right? There's
yeah.
always a media announcement when you get a new position. There's no media announcement when you get rejected. There's no media announcement when you are at your kitchen table crying on your own. So
Mm,
I'm really happy to share that as a perseverance and resilience story.
mm,
So I can start in 2009. I was finishing my PhD, meaning that I had drafts of all of the chapters of my dissertation, and I attended the International Society for the Sociology of Sport. I'm getting the acronym wrong. It's ISA, International Sociology of Sport Association, ISSA. I went to their conference in Utrecht in the Netherlands. And so this was my first time attending an international conference. And if I can just back up a little bit in case there
mm,
are graduate students on the call, when I first saw that conference announced, I thought, oh, it would be so wonderful to go to the Netherlands. Too bad I can't afford it. That was my first thought, was
mm,
that this is not for me because it's something that I don't have the money for.
mm,
And then I asked around, or I might have shared that with someone, and they said, why don't you just ask your supervisor to pay for you? And that was the first time that it had occurred to me that there are people on campus with money who will give it to me, and the supervisor is the first person to start with.
yeah.
So I asked my supervisor, and they said, I could pay for your plane ticket. Would that help? Yeah, that will help. I can do the rest if you can pay for my plane ticket. So I just want to name that I had support to go to this international conference,
Mm,
ISSA. When I was there, I had a casual conversation, after the sessions when you're just have an opportunity to network with people. And I met someone from New Zealand, Aotearoa, a professor who mentioned, we're going to have postdoctoral fellowships available soon. Like it's not announced yet, but
Mm,
just keep your eye out because you would be a great candidate. And
mm,
again, it had never occurred to me to do a postdoctoral fellowship or that traveling across the world to do
mhm,
that kind of position, that that was something that was for me. And
mm,
so as I finished my PhD and then I did see that job posted and I did apply, I was still not certain that I wanted to go, but knew that I wanted to pursue research. And I was applying for tenure track jobs the whole time. So none of the tenure track jobs worked out at that time, but my 2-year postdoctoral fellowship at the University of Otago in New Zealand, Aotearoa, was successful. And I keep saying New Zealand, Aotearoa, because I want to honor the Maori peoples, the indigenous peoples of that land, and their claims for bicultural citizenship.
mm.
And New Zealand, much like Canada, has a tension between honoring their indigenous people and invisibilizing them. So I want to make sure that that's clear. So I spent 2 years on a postdoctoral fellowship in New Zealand,
Mm,
and I knew I wanted to come back to Canada. I had one baby during those 2 years.
mm,
And in coming back to Canada, I understood that not all postdoctoral fellowships are created equal. And so there are
mm,
some that are bigger, more money, more prestigious than
mhm,
others.
mhm,
And so I set my sights for the top. I said, what's the biggest, most prestigious postdoctoral fellowship you can get? And at the time, and perhaps still, it's called the Banting
mm.
Shirk Award. So
Yeah,
Shirk is the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council,
that's
and the
right.
Banting Postdoctoral Fellowship is or was the biggest one.
Mhm,
So I set my sights on that, and I thought, who do I know that has a Banting? I did my Google research. I found out who has held this award before and what it's all about, and I talked to
mm.
folks and really got some mentorship on applying. And I will say, honestly, I worked on that application for at least 2 months practically full time. I was doing nothing else other than preparing this award application because I understood at that time it was worth $70,000 a year. So for $140,000, I am going to make sure every I is dotted, every T is crossed. I'm going to do what I can to make this the best application possible.
Mm.
And so I did that, and I was rewarded and very highly ranked in that adjudication
Scholarship,
system.
right.
So I
So
came back
what
to
year
Canada.
was this?
So my postdoctoral fellowship was 2010 and 2011 in New
Okay,
Zealand.
okay.
And then I came back, and in 2012 and 13, I carried that Banting postdoctoral fellowship at what was then called Ontario. I'm getting all the acronyms.
Okay.
It was UOIT, University of Ontario Institute of Technology. Now it's called Ontario Tech University.
So Dr.
So
Joseph, you did two postdocs
I did 2 postdoctoral fellowships for 4 years, and I
while
had 2 babies.
while still applying, trying to apply for a tenure track position.
Applying for tenure track positions. I will admit that during that time, I applied for a job and was offered it at University of California, Fullerton,
Hmm.
um, in the Cal State system. And I decided to decline that job. At the time, I had a newborn,
Hmm.
literally. And just moving to California, I didn't feel like it was the right move for my family. So I can confidently say that the first job that I interviewed for, I was successful.
Hmm.
However, I declined it. And then I was not successful for many, many other dozens, dare I say, hundreds of applications. So I did the 2 postdoctoral fellowships. And when the second one was coming to an end, at that time, then I had 2 very young children and had been out of the PhD for 4 years and had not secured a job. And I looked myself in the mirror and I said, what do you really want? And
Hmm.
at that time, I really wanted to stay in my home, which is in downtown Toronto, just steps from the St. George campus
Hmm.
of the University of Toronto. I wanted to um, be close to my extended family. I was already familiar with the University of Toronto because that's where I did both my master's and my PhD. So
Hmm.
I said, I want to work at the University of Toronto. And so I got in touch with the Dean of the Faculty of Kinesiology and Physical Education and said, my expertise is in race and sport. Is there a course that I can teach? I had taught there previously as a PhD student, and Dean Gretchen Kerr said yes. there is a course that you can teach. And so I started teaching sessionally there, but sessional teaching, as you know, is being paid for one course. So you're
Yes.
3 hours a week, you go in for 12 weeks, you teach the course and you leave. So it's
Yeah.
not a full professor or even an assistant professor position. It was an adjunct position that allowed me to teach one course and contribute to PhD students' theses. So I was on PhD committees.
Okay.
So I wanted to make that clear because that means that I was teaching
Mhm.
undergraduates. I was on the committee of graduate students, and I got a job at the university as a learning strategist in their academic success department. So I was not supervising, but mentoring graduate
Mm.
students through my
Mm.
staff role. So I
Mm.
had a staff role, a teaching role, and a research role, all of which paid only a fraction of what an assistant professor makes. And yet I was doing the components of the job, and particularly the mentoring graduate students was really fulfilling for me at
Mm.
academic success. So that takes us to year 5 of the 10-year gap, which is
2014.
2014. Yeah, so 2014, I started at Academic Success and I started teaching sessionally. And over the next 3 years, I moved into a leadership position in academic success. And in 2017, I became the director of that unit at the
Wow.
University of Toronto. And so, all while teaching sessionally, all while writing my books, I had several books published during that period as well. So, I had a book come out in 2012 on race and sport in Canada, a book come out in 2015 on racial justice and community engagement. And then the book that was based on my dissertation called Sport in the Black Atlantic, Cricket and the Caribbean Communities, Caribbean Diaspora, came out in 2017. So I was writing the books, supervising the students, researching on the side, and applying for jobs. And I kept getting rejected from jobs, but also, I will say that I had made the decision to stay in Toronto at that time. So
Hmm.
I wasn't applying for jobs all over the world, but I
Hmm.
was applying for every job from St. Catharines to Kingston, just to see if there was a way that I could stay where I live, or at least close to Southern Ontario, and continue the work that I love. So, as the director of academic success, I realized that within a university system, there is a leadership tier that is all professors, and then a management tier that is all staff. And I
Right.
was at the top of the staff category, and I recognized that in a way I had already peaked. There
Mm.
was no way that I could aspire to become the same position as my boss because I wasn't
Hmm.
a faculty member. And
Hmm.
so I looked around and I thought, if I don't do anything different, I can stay in this job for 30 years. And I loved the work. I loved the institution and the people that I was working with, but it really meant that I had to dampen down or quiet that voice inside me that said,
Mm.
"You are a professor. You
Mm.
can do more research. You should be applying for funding. You can supervise students and
Mm.
influence their dissertations." And I
Right.
had to say, shh, we're not doing that right now. So
Mm.
I was in a battle with myself, really, between,
Mm.
to answer your previous question
Mm.
of, did I always know that I was going to do this work as a Tier 1 Canada Research Chair? There was part of me as I was applying for all of those jobs that I thought, I can do this. I can do this. This is what I'm meant to be.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then when I kept getting rejected year after year, application after application, I thought, you know what? I don't know if this is meant for
This,
me.
yeah, yeah.
And maybe what's meant for me is university leadership in a different way, and it's possible that I could have continued to teach that one course and to mentor students and to be a staff member from 9 to 5 at a very high level. The work was very fulfilling, but there was always this voice inside of me that wanted more. And
Hmm.
so, to answer your question also about why didn't I give up, there was a moment at the end of 2018 where I was approaching the 10-year mark. And I
Hmm.
thought, you know what? If somebody else told me they wanted to be an NBA player or, some other really big job, and
Right.
after 10 years they were not cutting it, I would say, maybe it's time to look in the mirror and realize that that is not your path. It's not that it's
Mm,
a lesser path, it's just
mm,
that there's a different path for you.
mm.
So really at the end of 2018, I had decided, you know what, no more job applications. Like I can't take the rejection even one
Mm.
more time. I'm going to just be still. So that was my New Year's resolution for
Be
2019 was to be
still.
still.
What does be still mean to you? What did it
Yeah.
mean to you at that time?
Yeah, so how I was feeling at that time was frantic because I'm teaching over here and I'm in leadership positions over there. And at the time, my organization was also going through a renovation. So we were
Mm,
literally moving our offices from place to place. And then on Thursday afternoons, I have to rush off here to teach and then I have to rush back for a meeting. And so I was just exhausting myself.
yeah.
And, there is research about adjunct faculty and faculty who continue sessionally long term, and it's
Hmm.
not good for your health
Mm,
because you're piecing together what could be a full-time job. It's being part of the gig economy, right?
right.
It is a job that could exist in a way that could sustain people, but
Mm,
instead capitalism has organized the system so that people have to do piecemeal here, piecemeal there to try and make a life putting a life together.
mm,
So I was feeling run off my feet. So for me, be still meant that I can stop running. I can sit down. I can maybe even decline that offer to teach that one course
wow.
because then I could use that time um, to focus on my well-being. I could use that
Mm,
time to focus on
mm,
my writing.
mm,
So there was just not enough hours in the day to do all the things that I wanted to do, and I knew that it was going to make me sick ultimately.
mm,
And
mm.
remember, at that time, I was also a mother of two children under
Right,
5,
right.
and so part of that the not being still was also rushing to daycare. Make sure you get there before it closes. Make sure that I get them to their own social events and parties and sports activities. And so I was just really, parenting at full speed, working at full speed, researching on the side, and
Mm,
wanted to be able to relax a little bit
mm,
and not necessarily do less, but just do it with less frenetic energy.
mm.
And so there's a question in the chat about was I a solo parent? I was not. So I have a partner, and he has been really wonderful in supporting this journey. But he could also see the sadness in me that I
Mm.
wasn't doing it in the way that I wanted
You
to, which
wanted
was
to.
around being a full-time researcher. Um, so the Be Still came at the end of 2018,
Hmm.
and I will say it lasted exactly 14 days
Mm,
before I got an email invitation from my colleagues at the University of Alberta to be part of a grant that they were putting together.
hmm.
And in order for me to apply for this grant, I was supposed to be a faculty member. So I was like, this is
Wow.
the problem. I can't do the research for the position, but then I can't get a position if I'm not still doing research.
Faculty. Yep.
And
Yep.
so I went again to the dean. At that time, it was Dina Ira Jacobs at the University of Toronto. And I said exactly my situation. Like, I am being sought after by
Mm,
national scholars to
mm,
support their research because of my expertise in race and sport. But because I'm only an adjunct here, I'm not really eligible unless you can do something about that. And he did help me. He wrote a letter. He adjusted my status so that I would be eligible to apply for this national level funding.
mm.
And it was New Frontiers in Research Exploration grant, and we were successful. We got almost a
Wow.
$500,000.
Half a
And
million?
yes, yeah, that first grant was a lot of money, and it was with two colleagues who are my dear friends and colleagues to this day. We
Wow.
have a collective called the Recreation Collective.
Wow.
Dr. Danielle Piers, who is a Canada Research Chair in Disability, Justice, and Physical Cultures, and
Wow.
Tricia McGuire Adams, who is also a Canada Research Chair in Indigenous Health Sovereignties. So you see, other research chairs were seeking me out to do research with them when I had no position. And
Oh
so
my
that was
goodness.
a sign, I think, from the universe at the beginning of 2019 of,
Hmm.
you know what, you're exactly where you need to be. And
Mm,
maybe it doesn't look the package doesn't look like what everybody else's looks like, but just
That's
do the
right.
work.
Just,
Do the work that you
ooh,
want to do.
mm.
And so lo and behold, we got that grant. And then what do you know? Dean Ira Jacobs found a position in critical race theory and sport and posted it for a tenure track job. And I applied and was successful. So
That was
2019
at
at
the
University of Toronto. So that was the celebratory moment where it seemed like it all paid off. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. It took me a lot
long
longer
time.
than my colleagues, as you mentioned. A lot of people I graduated with, some of them did a postdoc and got a job right away. Some of them just got a job straight out of their PhD. And that was not the case for me. And it's not lost on me, the scholarship on Black women scholars, racialized scholars more generally, um, cis and trans women more generally in academia, that we have a harder time. These are facts. There, it is well documented. And so none of my other peers were shared the same identity as me, and they
Mm,
didn't have as difficult a time as me. And
mm.
thank you. I'm seeing lots of celebrations in the chat, and I thank you.
Yeah,
It does
yeah.
mean a lot to me to know that you hear me. I know that you
Yes,
see me and
yes.
you understand the struggles that racialized scholars face
Mm,
and other minoritized scholars. But the take-home message, I think, is around one, perseverance. So,
mm,
why did you give up? It didn't seem like giving up was really a choice. As I mentioned, I gave up for 2 weeks, some of which was the winter break. So, the universe just kept giving me
mm,
signs and
mm,
gifts and opportunities that
mm,
I said yes to
mm,
because they were what was really fulfilling. And even in that frenetic energy, when I wasn't being still, all
mm.
of the things that I was doing was because I wanted to. It was because they
Right,
were exciting for me. And
right.
so being able to shape shift and wear multiple hats and be here at 1 p.m. and there at 3 p.m., just running all over the place, I was always doing things that I loved. I'll give you one really specific example.
Go
In
ahead.
that role as the director of academic success, I was able to create what we called walk and talk,
Mm,
or strolling meetings, roll and stroll, where we could meet with students not at a desk or in an office, but actually outside or in whatever setting those
mm,
students preferred. Because I recognize just from awareness of my own body and
mm,
my kinesiological and research mind that not everyone's going to learn or share their best if we're
mm,
sitting at a desk or sitting at a
mm,
computer. Of course, this was
mm,
before COVID, but even in those days, it just seemed to me that being inside is not what is going to work for everyone. Some people will
mm,
prefer that, but I
mm.
personally will prefer to have a job where I can move. And
That's
so
right.
I
That's
may
right.
have taken that to the extreme by moving all over the place, but it's things like that that I was able to contribute definitively to the local culture, to the institutional culture, and to do things differently because I'm a researcher, because I have this curiosity of around pedagogy and embodiment and racialization and disability, and recognizing that not every learner, not every student, and not every professor is going to operate in the same way. So I was able to really draw all of my wide range of skills in every single one of those years, even leading up to the 2019 securing an assistant professor position.
One thing I love about this whole, I feel as if we should write a book, 2009 to 2019. It will be amazing. But one thing I love about this whole 2009 to 2019 journey is you were not idle. You
No.
literally wrote books. You were co-applicants on grants. Sometimes when we go through very tough life situations, we feel like, oh my gosh, like as you said in your own words, the universe is not in favor of me. Um, I would rather just give up and not pursue this anymore because we sometimes have a victim mentality. But I love the fact that you were still doing your work. You were still doing what you needed to do, even in that very seemingly dry season. And I just want you to take just a few minutes because there might be people that are here, me included, who might be in a season of dryness. And we
Mhm.
feel like we've been waiting for so long. Applying for jobs, no progress. Applying for school applications, rejections after rejections. Like, I want you to just speak to us because you've been there before.
Yes. Thank you for the question. And I will challenge the idea of waiting with what I mentioned before about not being still. So you
Mm,
just said it. I was not idle during that time. So I think the when you have a perspective of waiting, it can easily shift you into more of a depressive mode. And I mean that literally, like you won't have dopamine firing, your serotonin
mm,
levels will be down. And
mhm,
it's very difficult to be your best self, to have your good ideas, to show up for other people you're in relationship with if you have low dopamine and high cortisol. And I
mhm,
think when you're waiting, when you're thinking, when is that job going to come? When is that relationship going to come? When is that pay raise going to come? If you're waiting for it, then your orientation is passive. And so I think the solution, just, in this opportunity to reflect on how I survived those years, it was because I wasn't waiting. I was actively doing the things that bring me joy down to a micro scale of, um, can I do Tai Chi in the park? I saw these people, especially older people, doing Tai Chi in the park near me. And I thought, how they have all this time? How they doing Tai Chi every single morning? But then I realized I'm walking past them every single morning. And
mm,
so what if I just left a little bit earlier, had a little bit more time, and sometimes I would go and just watch. But even that was a moment of stillness, a moment of reflection. And so the
wow.
finding these micro moments to bring you joy, to be your authentic self. In
Mm,
my soul, I know that I'm a person who likes to move, who likes physical activity. And so when I'm not doing physical activity, that's when the depressive symptoms, the woe is me, the victim mentality creeps in. And so if I can find those little ways to be my best self, and that starts with self-reflection. It starts with, what do I want? Where do I want to live? What do I need to do? And rather than thinking about titles, thinking about the actual actions. So for me, I want to mentor students. There are lots of jobs that include mentoring students, one of which is being a professor. But if mentoring students is what I really care about, then I started to look for student mentorship jobs. So it wasn't the shape that I thought it would be originally, and it certainly wasn't the shape of all of my peers. But each of us is a unique individual, and so we need to chart our own paths. So I think that might be where I land, is that find out what is important to you, find out what you are passionate about, and find ways to bring that into your world, whether it's with a formal job title or not. There's always volunteer opportunities or clubs or organizations that you can join where you'll get to do the kind of leadership roles that are really fulfilling to you if leadership is what you're after. And then I do believe that the right opportunity will present itself, whatever cosmic energy you believe in. I think it will present itself at the right time.
mm.
You have to be ready to be lucky.
Ooh, you have to be ready to be lucky. And I think that aligns with you. You prepared the whole time. Because
Hmm.
what if you just sat there and didn't do anything
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just whined and said, "Oh my goodness, look at me. I can't
Mhm.
get a job." Then when if should the opportunity have presented itself, you wouldn't have been ready to even.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Those years after my PhD and my postdocs, when I published those books, it was because I had done the postdocs and I had the data. So I was, sitting on half-written stories and materials in my that were on my computer that I thought, I could just let those sit there because I have a 9 to 5 job and then I have a 5 to 9 job when I go home. And so, I don't have to publish this work. Like those postdocs are in the past, and I could just let it sit there. Could, but there was part of me that's like, you can't. You can't
Mm,
just let that sit there. And
mm,
so I figured it out. I had some early mornings, I had some late nights, I had some, everyone says nap when your kids are napping. I didn't have that luxury. I worked when my kids were napping. I found, even 15 minutes a day to keep the ideas fresh. Some of these are cliches about productivity. But for me, they did actually work for a short term when I had a really specific goal. I don't think, you want to be staying up late and working weekends or,
Mhm.
burning the candle at both ends
Mhm.
indefinitely.
Mhm.
But for a really specific project and a really specific time frame, if you can push as much as you and knowing your body and your life circumstances, push as much as you can to reach a goal, then that's part of the preparation. Then you will be ready when the opportunity comes.
Wow.
I,
So
wa- I want to, I
go
just want to
ahead.
share one other thing, which is
Yeah.
that I didn't get into the master's program when I first applied. So I had top marks in my undergraduate, and I thought, top students who have top marks just get what they want. And so I
Right.
put in an application for a master's program, and there was part of the application that asked to describe the alignment between the candidate's research and their supervisor's research. And I
Mm.
thought, I don't know who my supervisor is going to be. Like, I have to get into the
Mm.
program to figure
Mm.
that out.
Mm.
And so I left that part blank. And that is why I didn't get in. I learned afterwards when they rejected me, and I thought, me? You're rejecting Janelle Joseph? Don't you know I have
Don't
top
you know
marks?
who I am?
Don't you know who I am? And they were like, no, we don't. And who's your supervisor? And so
Right.
I learned through that process that you need to find a supervisor, ask them if they will, support your application,
That's right.
talk about your alignment with their project, and then you apply. So after my undergraduate, I took 1 year off. And during that time, when I was waiting to reapply for the master's, I was not idle. I went to Taiwan to teach English. And in that time,
Woo.
being an English speaker in Taiwan put me at the upper echelons of society, right? There were many business people, many university professors, many people who wanted to learn English. And so that gave me an opportunity to live my best life, to do lots of different kinds of jobs, to take on many different leadership opportunities that then prepared me when I did get into the master's program to do more, to see myself as an international scholar, to see myself as well connected and with creative ideas that are worth sharing. And so it's just, along the way, I could think of 100 other failure stories that are actually, my success stories, because for me, that's what life is. It is a series of failures turned successes.
If there is anything I'm going to take from this conversation today, it is not being idle in the waiting period. Because you don't have this flower story of, oh, I finished and it happened for me and I graduated. And you have the story, oh, no, I was rejected. But in the rejection, I turned it around and did something productive that has actually helped in my journey of life. That's so
Exactly.
amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Now from 2019 to present, so how long did you teach in the University of Toronto for? Were you an assistant or an associate professor?
I was an assistant professor in my full-time role at the University of Toronto, so that was 2019 to 2024. And then when I came to Brock University, July 1st, 2024, I came with tenure. So I came as an associate professor.
Look at that. Now, not every, for people that are here that are not in academia, like this is a big deal. You wait 10 years to get an assistant professor job. In 5 years, you work as an associate professor, and then in 1 year, an assistant professor, and then in 1 year, you literally get promoted to an associate professor. How long on average does it take people to move from assistant to associate?
Typically, I think after 6 years, you have an opportunity to apply. Some people do go up early, and the fact is, I should have been encouraged to go up early. And so
Mm.
there is also a system of mentorship and support, and some might even say nepotism in terms of how people get the resources that they need to get in order to be seen as more senior professor. I won't name any names, but I will say that when I started in 2019, I started with other professors. So I wasn't the only one hired that year.
Mm.
And to my surprise, 3 years later, I saw announcements going out. So and so got promoted to associate. This person got
You're like,
promoted.
what?
So literally, Mame, when I tell you, I went on my computer and was like, "Dear so and so, congratulations. I was just wondering, what happened to you in the last 3 years? Because didn't we get hired together? And how are you already associate? And congratulations. And they told me that they won awards. Guess what? I won awards. They told me that they had publications. Guess what? I had
You had
publications.
publications.
They told me they got grants. Guess what? I had grants. And so they were encouraged to go up for tenure
Oh.
early. And then they got promoted after only 3 years, not waiting the 6 years. And so that was a lesson to me in
Mm,
that, all positions are not created equal. Not all mentorship opportunities are
mm,
exactly the same. And you do need to seek out mentors in order to help
yeah.
you with that ambition of not being idle. You need to
Yeah.
know people who are doing the thing you want to do. I'm a
Mm,
first generation graduate student in my family.
mm,
I didn't have
mm,
someone that I could call up and ask about the process. That's why I left that part of my master's application blank. I literally
mhm,
didn't know how to do it. And
mm,
so also not knowing how to be an assistant professor, you need to really reach out and in whatever field you're in, find the mentors, find people who are doing the things that you want to do and ask them about their journey. And that's why I'm so happy to have this kind of recorded conversation because I know that people can learn from my experience and my journey. And if I can just take a moment to say her name, hashtag say her name, I want to give shout outs to Dr. Tanya Sharp at the University of Toronto, Dr.
mm,
Madiane Andrade, Dr. Alyssa Tross, Dr. Rhonda McEwen. These are four senior Black women at the University of Toronto who have been so influential in my journey to come to Brock. And then since I've been at Brock, I'm starting to meet more and more of the Black faculty here who are doing fantastic work and who are personally supporting me. And it cannot be done alone. So we really need to invest in our relationships so that we can
mm.
make sure that we are fostering our best selves and passing on the knowledge that we get.
Incredible. I want to ask one final question within the last few minutes that we have. And I hope I don't get in trouble for this question. So, there's a lot of tea about your transition from U of T to Brock.
Mhm.
And sometimes information could be misconstrued when it's not coming directly from the horse's own mouth.
Mhm.
So I want you, if you're comfortable, if yeah, if you're comfortable, can you share with us what happened? Because the question everyone is asking when they see us, why did she leave U of T to come to Brock?
Mm.
I mean, it's U of T. Why did she leave U of T to come to um I don't want to call Brook a smaller school, but it is in comparison to U of T. So, can you share with us the journey concerning that and what made you make that externally, in our view, seemingly tough decision to make the
Mhm.
transition to Brock?
Absolutely. I'm happy to be transparent about that. And I think that we need more transparency in terms of job transitions. And I just think about how academic systems work.
Mm,
So there's a very simple answer for why I would leave the University of Toronto to come to Brock University. And the answer is a tier 1 Canada Research Chair. So we started our conversation today with me explaining a little bit about that, but I can give you some more details here. And, one of the things that we ought to be more transparent about is money, because I think it's a taboo topic in our system. But these are dollar figures that you can find on the internet. A Canada Research Chair, Tier 1, comes with $200,000 per year of funding. So that is separate from my salary. Separate from my salary, it is an opportunity to invest in my research. And so that's part of building my lab, that's part of hiring students, that's part of community engagement, buying computers, like everything that you need to run a research lab, you have that research funding. So at the University of Toronto, I could apply for a $200,000 grant every year, and applying for grants is work. And I probably would be successful. I was successful in doing that in my first 5 years as an assistant professor. However, coming to an institution where a Canada Research Chair is provided for me, and I
mm,
can use that money to build a research lab, and I can use that money to hire executive assistant and a lab manager and a postdoctoral fellow. I can expand exponentially the kinds of work that I'm doing because I have funding. I can also still apply for grants. And so I can accelerate that funding exponentially. But first and foremost, it was to have the money, the staff, the time to do the kind of research that I want to do. Um, uh, and also Canada Research Chairs are rare. And so
Yeah.
the fact that there is a chair in my area, and that's the way that the Faculty of Applied Health Sciences at Brock University designed it, because they wanted to recruit me, so to be able to apply for a chair that's not adjacent to what I do, it is
Mhm.
literally exactly my research,
Mhm.
and to be successful in that process, which is an internationally rigorous process. So I came to Brock University, and then once I was here as an associate professor, I applied for the chair. That is an application that was over 80 pages long, that is arguably more difficult than the tenure review process at the University of Toronto, because it goes to international adjudicators who need to say, is this a qualified candidate at the level of a national leading scholar who has a proposal to do research that will actually be game changing for the National Society? Is this person worthy? And the adjudicators, I can show you my reports, all said outstanding in every category.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much. That is the reason to leave a place like the University of Toronto, which has great prestige, sure. Has a great name, sure. Is a big institution, sure. Do they have a cadre of specialists in Black Canadian studies, health, and sport? They don't, because that's me. And
Clock
I
it.
am now at Brock University. And so the opportunities in the end, you know how I was describing when I was applying for jobs and the doors were closed, and that told me I had to go somewhere else. Ultimately, the door was closed at the University of Toronto. I wanted more research funding, I wanted more staff, I wanted more opportunities to really build, and that is a job that only the structure of a Canada Research Chair can offer, and Brock University had it.
Beautiful. So what you're trying to tell me is that it's okay to move somewhere because of money. It's fine.
Yes. What? Did somebody say we're not moving for money? Yes, it is okay. It's okay to move for money. It's okay to ask for more. It's okay to know your worth. In
Mm.
fact, I'll tell you that that idea of what am I worth is a question that I have been working on with my therapist for at least a decade, if not more.
Mm.
What am I worth? It is a financial question, but it's also a question about time. It's also a question about space. It's a question about like how much of my resources and my capacity do I want to give to other people? What do I expect to get back? If you can really hone in on what you are worth, then decisions become easy. Somebody's asking you to do something and you know that it's outside of your boundaries, you easily say no. You don't say, oh, but I feel guilty, or oh, but I want to, or oh, they'll like me more, or oh, no, because I know what I'm worth, and I know which people I want to invest in, and I know what I'm going to get back. That question around worthiness and remuneration, those are financial questions, but they are also socio-emotional and political questions as well. So yes, it's okay to move for money. It's okay to move for time. It's okay to move for space. It's okay to move for national and international prestige. It's okay to move for leadership opportunities. You get to decide what it's okay to do with your time. Only you can decide that.
In your journey of identifying your self-worth, which you said you've been going through with your therapist, how does one know their self-worth?
I think you might feel uncomfortable in the knowing, and that means that you're still on a journey. And there's some parts of my identity and my worthiness that are so crystal clear that I don't doubt anymore. And there's some areas that I think I'm still working through. But I think it's the still working through is when you're feeling uncomfortable. If you're feeling unsure, then you're still on the journey. So to answer your question, how do you know? It's through trial and error. It's through um, I said no to that person and look how it turned out. And, maybe sometimes it turns out good and you think, I'm going to do that next time. Sometimes it turns out bad, but then you think like, that's on them. That's not on me. And so it really is, life is a trial and error. I'll tell one more story, which is that just on October 19th, a few weeks ago, I ran the Toronto Waterfront
Nice.
Half Marathon, which is
Congratulations.
21.1 kilometers. And I have done it once before, but this time when I was running, the last, I would say, 4 kilometers were really hard for me. I didn't
Mm,
get to train as much as I had wanted to in the summer and early fall. And I just wasn't feeling my best that day. But those last 4 kilometers, I was doing so much self-talk, so much bigging myself up. You got this. You've done this before. One foot in front of the other. You can do this. Focus on your breathing. Focus on that guy with a funny sign. Focus on that grandma in front of you. Like there were so many people who were on the same journey as me. You could tell that they were tired at the end. They were really challenging themselves. Um, but it's all of the things that I've been sharing with you just in this hour that got me to that 21.1 kilometer mark because I know that I am a person who can do hard things. And I know that I am um, a person who's worth investing in. It's like every one of those steps was an investment in myself.
mm,
And so thinking about, how do you know what you are worth? It's going to be contextual, it's going to be relational, but ultimately, I think if I'm doubting myself, then it just means that I haven't yet had enough lessons. There are some lessons I learned over and over, or I experience over and over, but I haven't actually learned yet. And I think, why do I keep making the same mistakes? But then there are other things that I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do that next time. And so I'm discovering my worth by making that firm decision and then moving myself forward. So it's a journey. It's a journey. And thank you for the question again.
oh my goodness. This has been an hour of great conversation, many lessons that we would have had to pay someone to literally like $10,000 to literally share what you have just shared with us. I am so inspired, honestly. I I'm so I'm lost for words, and I'm often not lost for words, but I'm sure that the many people here feel similar sentiment. Dr. Joseph has to literally leave us by 1:30, but I want to open the floor to one question. And whilst we are taking that question, please feel free to check out Dr. Janelle Joseph's lab. The moment you just type Dr. Janelle Joseph on Google, you will literally see her lab, which is the Ideas Research Lab. Feel free to go through our the websites, look at the work, the amazing work that Dr. Janelle has been doing. As she already mentioned, she also provides. She's a knowledge sharer, big time, and she's always mentoring students to help and support. And Dr. Janelle Joseph has these monthly meetings whereby students just come to talk to her for 1 hour to ask questions, anything on her journey. And I will encourage you highly to just shoot her an email, and we will definitely include you within that list of the monthly meetings. And as you can see, this is some good wealth of knowledge she shared. So you definitely want to join those monthly meetings and monthly sessions to learn more from Dr. Joseph. Any questions before we wrap up? Okay, good one. So someone said, do we have to attend Brock to be
For the monthly meetings, no, not at all. And in fact, I meet with a lot of students who might be thinking about graduate school or thinking about getting some research assistantship work, who are not yet Brock students or not Brock students at all, not students at all. Those monthly meetings are really open. It's a chance for me to get to know different folks and for them to get to know each other. I feel like one of the things I do is actually put people in conversation with each other. So you would be welcome to reach out.
Dr. Janelle, would you want me to put my email in the chat box for them to reach out, or would you want me to put yours for the monthly meetings in case anyone is
Yeah,
interested?
Mama, please go ahead and put yours. I think
Okay.
in the end, if someone contacts me, I will contact you and get you to help me set it up. So if people want to reach out to Mame directly, I would welcome that.
Yes, please. Thank you so, so much, Dr. Joseph. This has been insightful. It's been great, and we truly, truly appreciate your time. Thank
Oh,
you, and we wish you all the very best.
thank you so much. Really wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
You too. Bye, Dr. Joseph.
Okay, bye-bye.
Awesome. So, thank you all for making it to this incredible session. I have been inspired, honestly, deeply. And just to spill some tea, Dr. Joseph is my manager. She's my boss. Okay. And this woman, Charlie, you people should get into a meeting with her. So please, you just shoot me an email, send me a WhatsApp message. I got you guys. I will put you in the monthly meetings as soon as possible. She's someone you really, really, really want to have in your corner and talk to. There's always opportunities within our lab, especially those who want to pursue postgraduate studies, those who want to just volunteer and support in research. She's somebody you want to be connected with. So don't hesitate to just shoot me a WhatsApp message or just send me an email, and I would be more than happy to include you in the lab. We love you all. Unfortunately, due to some one or two things, we weren't able to live stream this on our YouTube channel. However, it will be uploaded on our YouTube, and feel free to go watch it and watch it again to be inspired. Okay. We love you, and we'll see you same time. We have two more sessions to go till the end of the year. One beautiful, amazing, smart lady is going to come and teach us on how to start your own not-for-profit organizations, how to apply for grants for your NGOs. She's very good. And we're going to be having a diplomat. Is she a diplomat? I think she is, who is going to also come and speak with us as we approach the end of the year. I love you all. Stay blessed and be safe. Bye.